There are more than 1,000 jutsu in Naruto, and while all these jutsu have their own strengths and weaknesses, these 16 jutsu that we're gonna discuss today are straight up bonkers. Kitten. Kitten is very different from most of the jutsu in the Naruto-verse, because while many jutsu are based on the user's chakra, Kitten uses natural lightning. To use this jutsu, Sasuke draws natural lightning directly from the thunderclouds. After carefully controlling that lightning with his chakra, Sasuke throws it towards his opponents, and it doesn't take much time since it only takes 1,000th of a second for lightning to reach the ground. But what if there are no thunderclouds? Well, in that case, Sasuke must create those thunderclouds. How? By using insanely powerful fire techniques to create a storm. It's a very complex process, but all you need to know is the fire heats the air and pushes it upward. This strong heated wind helps create a thundercloud, which Sasuke then uses for his kitten. And if Sasuke misses his target after doing all that cooking, then he has to start over to launch another kitten. Now, I know that's a lot of work for one attack, but the result is worth it. With one attack, Sasuke not only destroyed the Uchiha clan's hideout, but also deleted Itachi's Susanoo. Itachi himself praises this attack and accepts that if it were not for his Susanoo, he would have gotten cooked by Kitten. But because we've only seen this jutsu once in the whole manga, and destroying the Uchiha clan's hideout and almost dead Itachi's Susanoo doesn't say much about it, so I've kept it at number 15. The next S-rank jutsu we have at number 14 is Water Prison Shark Dance. To perform this jutsu, you need water. Lots and lots of water, which is why Kasame performs this technique after super exploding water shockwave, which lets him create a very massive dome of water. After that, Kasame turns water into a giant prison. You might be wondering, it's just water, you can easily swim to the edge and escape out of it. Well, you can't. The reason is the prison moves with Kasame at its center, which is why escaping out of it isn't as straightforward as it looks. There are two more things that make escaping out of this prison very hard. The first one is Kasame's transformation. After fusing with Samehada, Kasame transforms into a shark-like creature. This not only gives him the ability to breathe underwater, but it also allows him to swim effortlessly in the water. The second thing that makes escaping this jutsu harder is that it drains the chakra of its target, to the point that they just have enough chakra to stay alive. Through this jutsu, Kasame not only drained B's chakra, but also stole most of the Eight-Tails chakra, which is why it's the ultimate jutsu to capture a target. Kasame himself mentions that there's no one in Akatsuki that is as skilled as him in live capture. Despite the fact that this jutsu is recommended for 1v1s, Kasame was able to hold 3 people in and almost defeated Killer B with this jutsu. And the only reason B got saved was thanks to the 4th Right Kage, who came just in time to save his bro. Now, B wouldn't have to worry about death if he had known the S-rank jutsu that we have at number 13. Living Corpse Reincarnation. Let me ask you a question. What do you do if you were, let's say, immortal? Gain enough power to become the world's leader? Maybe gather an enormous amount of wealth? Or maybe clear your student loans? Now, only kids want these things. Real men seek knowledge. And that's the reason Orochimaru created this jutsu. He wanted to learn about everything the ninja world has to offer. And because it's impossible to acquire all the knowledge in existence in one lifetime, he created the Living Corpse Reincarnation jutsu. Now, the immortal part is only limited to the soul. Your body does not get immortal with this jutsu, only your soul does. In my opinion, this one small detail right here is the only drawback of this jutsu. Let me explain. Orochimaru can only perform this technique once every 3 years, and when those 3 years are almost over, the previous host starts to reject Orochimaru. Thanks to that, Orochimaru is forced to move to another host. But how do we know it's 3 years when it's not explicitly mentioned in the manga? Well, we do know for sure that he changed hosts in chapter 199 and took control of Genyomaru's body. After that, we get a time skip of 2.5 years. It is around that time Orochimaru fights Naruto and confesses that his current body is rejecting him. Soon after that, Orochimaru tries to take over Sasuke, which makes the time limit for this jutsu to be around 3 years. But before we discuss how that went, let's talk about how this technique works. To perform this technique, Orochimaru abandons his current body and reveals his true form. He turns into a huge white snake, which is made up of many smaller white snakes. Orochimaru then swallows the new host and takes his target to a separate mental plane, where he takes over the mind of his victim. After that, the snake body falls apart and Orochimaru's soul dominates the new host. But what if Orochimaru fails to take over his host? Well, then it's game over for him. When Orochimaru tried to dominate Sasuke's soul, Sasuke pulled an Uno reverse at him with a Sharingan and instead dominated Orochimaru Orochimaru's soul. This not only saved Sasuke's life, but also gave him unlimited access to Orochimaru's chakra and power. Now, Orochimaru did manage to overcome the time limit by transferring his consciousness into a white Zetsu clone. White Zetsu clones are created from the husk of the tensei and are filled with the power of Hashirama's cells. This not only gives them a strong life force, but also grants them regenerative abilities. Thanks to these insane abilities of white Zetsu, a weak Obito was able to delete the Mist Ninjas without any problems. This is why these properties of white Zetsu make them a perfect vessel for Orochimaru, as not only is this new body strong, but it'll also never reject him. But if you don't want to go through that entire process, you will like this next jutsu. At number 12, we have Creation Rebirth. This jutsu was invented by none other than the 5th Hokage, Tsunade, with the sole purpose of protecting friends. She does this by releasing a huge amount of chakra at once. This forces the body to go through cell division, which instantly heals any injury, no matter how severe it is. It does not repair the old cells. What it instead does is create new ones at a very rapid rate, and that's where we have a small problem. In case you don't know, there's a limit to how many times a cell can divide, which is why every time Tsunade uses this technique, she's basically shortening her lifespan. But the healing you get in return is so overpowered that as long as this jutsu is active, it is impossible for the user to die. Let me show you how overpowered this healing is. In chapter 169, Tsunade got stabbed by Orochimaru right in the chest, and even received multiple sword wounds. But despite getting such serious injuries, Tsunade instantly recovered from them the moment she used Creation Rebirth. And this doesn't stop there, because after mastering the Creation Rebirth, Tsunade created another jutsu that was even more bonkers than the original. At number 11, we have Ninja Art Creation Rebirth, Strength of 100 technique. The Strength of 100 technique improves on the Creation Rebirth in two ways. First one is that you don't even need to make hand seals for this jutsu. The other way it improves on the Creation Rebirth is obviously the healing. The enhanced regeneration provided by this technique is so rapid that despite getting stabbed by 2 giant swords, Tsunade was able to completely heal herself in only a few moments. I mean, she was moving fine despite having 2 swords in her stomach, and even provided Onoki with enough chakra to use the atomic dismantling jutsu on a very huge scale. If you think that's insane, then let me tell you about a jutsu that can literally revive a dead person. At number 10, we have One's Own Life Reincarnation. In One's Own Life Reincarnation, the user basically gives their life to the target by using chakra as a medium. This jutsu can be used on both the living and the dead. When used on the living, it can save them from any fatal injury, and the user will get extremely tired after performing the jutsu. On the other hand, when performed on the dead, this jutsu will bring a dead person back to life. However, in exchange, the user will die after performing the technique. In chapter 279, Shio used this technique to revive Gaara, and that was the last of what we saw of this jutsu, since Shio didn't pass on this jutsu to anyone. Now, let me tell you about one of the coolest jutsu in the whole series, which was obviously created by Kakashi. At number 9, we have Lightning Cutter. Lightning Cutter is a better version of Chidori. We don't clearly know how it's different from the standard Chidori, since they're both performed in the same way. Both of these jutsu are performed by concentrating lightning chakra in your hand, and just like Chidori, it's not safe to use Lightning Cutter without the Sharingan. And while some people consider them to be the same jutsu, like my guy in chapter 114, Naruto's first databook lists both of them as a separate jutsu. And in chapter 361, when Deidara refers to Sasuke's jutsu as Lightning Cutter, Sasuke corrects him and tells him that his jutsu is called Chidori. With that sorted out, let's talk about the firepower. As the name suggests, this jutsu can literally cut through lightning, and because it can cut through lightning, Kakashi can also use it to counter powerful lightning attacks. Moreover, Kakashi can link this jutsu with another clone and make an electric arc strong enough to slice through multiple targets. Kakashi can also apply his jutsu to his kunai, which basically turns it into a long-range lightning cutter. After getting access to Six Paths power thanks to Obito, Kakashi formed a lightning cutter that was filled with the power of Kamui. Now, anything that comes in contact with that lightning will immediately get sent to the Kamui's dimension. In my opinion, this one attack right there saved the Shinobi world, because thanks to this attack, Kaguya wasn't able to use her right arm. This made it impossible for her to fire an Ashbone, making it easy for Naruto and Sasuke to seal her once and for all. That was the S-rank jutsu of Kakashi, but in my opinion, the S-rank jutsu of Kakashi's teacher is even cooler than this one. At number 8, we have Flying Thunder God Jutsu. This S-rank jutsu was developed by Tobirama, and it works kinda similar to Goku's instant transmission. To use this technique, the user first marks a target with their technique formula, which doesn't fade even after the user's death. And if you're wondering about the limits of these markings, then let me tell you that it's limitless, since in chapter 242, we've seen Minato use 50 markings at a time to deal with the enemies. One more thing that makes this jutsu insane is that it can teleport anything to anywhere in the world, no matter how far it is. To give you an idea, in chapter 631, Minato sent Tentail's attack off into the sea, which ended up saving hundreds of shinobi from wiping out of existence. This one jutsu seriously creates a crazy amount of options on both attack and defense. Want to sneak behind your enemy to slice their throat? Easy. Want to stab someone who's escaping? Done and dusted. Want to escape yourself from a dangerous enemy? Not even a problem. It's so insane that Naruto's second databook likens the technique formula of this to a cursed seal, because anyone who's marked with this jutsu cannot escape his death. Both Tobirama and Minato, the two users of the jutsu, were known as the fastest shinobi during their lifetimes, and while both of them were already fast on their own, Flying Rasen just took it to the next level. During the Third Shinobi World War, Minato used Flying Thunder God in such an epic way that he became known as the Yellow Flash of the Konoha village, and rightfully so, because my guy Minato dodged lightning release armor. This jutsu right there makes the fourth Raikage so fast that even a Sharingan cannot track his movements. It was such an amazing feat that the fourth Raikage declared him the fastest shinobi to ever live. Next at number 7, we have Spirit Transformation Technique. I don't think there's a jutsu that can make killing other people as easy as the Spirit Transformation Jutsu. Once it's activated, you better start saying those prayers, because there's nothing that can save you from this jutsu. This jutsu basically allows the user's spirit to leave their body. After that, the spirit can take control of anyone it wants. The jutsu not only allows the spirit to suppress the target, but it can even freely manipulate their actions. The control is so vast that the spirit can even kill the user without any problem. The best part is that this technique never misses its target. It'll always reach the target even when the user has no idea about their location. And because it's a spirit, any attack from the enemy is basically useless. The only way to counter this jutsu is to trap the user inside a barrier before they even use the jutsu. At number 6, we have Rasen Shuriken. This is without a doubt one of the deadliest techniques in the Naruto verse. This jutsu not only does great damage to its target, but also disconnects every single cell from the chakra system, which means that if you get hit by this jutsu, you won't be able to create and mold chakra. The damage is so insane that you can't heal it with medical ninjutsu, which is why Tsunade declared it a forbidden jutsu and ordered Kakashi to never let Naruto use it again. Yes, Naruto didn't only create an S-rank jutsu, but he created a forbidden S-rank jutsu. To use this jutsu, Naruto needs 2 clones. Naruto provides the chakra, the first clone contains the chakra, and the second clone then adds the wind nature to it. This setup requires some time, but the result is worth it. This jutsu completely destroyed Kakuzu, who still had 3 hearts left in his body, which means that it technically killed Kakuzu 3 times in a mere moment. Now, you might have noticed something strange during that fight. Even though it's called Rasen Shuriken, Naruto didn't throw it like a shuriken. That's because it would disappear after some time, which is why Naruto had to use it as a melee weapon. This jutsu actually had one more flaw, which was even more serious than the previous one. Because Naruto was using it as a melee weapon, his hand was also getting affected by the cellular damage of the Rasen Shuriken. And even though the damage wasn't that severe, it was riskful enough that Tsunade declared it a forbidden jutsu. But after learning Senjutsu, Naruto was able to overcome these 2 flaws. By infusing the Rasen Shuriken with Senjutsu chakra, not only was he able to maintain its shape, but he also became able to use it as a shuriken. It gets even better when Naruto uses Ninetales chakra mode, because he can use his chakra arms to guide the Rasen Shuriken while standing at a safe distance. However, Naruto doesn't stop here. At the end of the series, Naruto starts using Rasen Shuriken as a template for other jutsu. But before we go into that, let's discuss some other interesting jutsu. At number 5, Dead Demon Consuming Seal. If you face an enemy that is too strong for you, then you can simply ask Shinigami for some help, as he will seal that enemy for you. However, you'd have to pay a price. To perform this jutsu, the user has to sacrifice his own soul. This jutsu was developed by the Uzumaki clan and was so secret that even Orochimaru didn't know about it at first. When someone performs this jutsu, their soul is partially separated from their behind and floats behind them. After that, the Shinigami appears behind their soul and restrains it with its hair. The Shinigami then chants until a cursed seal appears on its arm. Following that, the Shinigami drives its arm through the summoner's soul and grabs its target. At this point, it's game over for the target. Not only are they completely immobilized, but any jutsu jutsu they were using are cancelled, and they're no longer able to perform any other jutsu. All that's left for the summoner to do is to remove and seal the soul of its target. With this jutsu, Hiruzen was not only able to seal Orochimaru, but also the first and second Hokage, who were revived by another jutsu, which we're gonna discuss in a minute. But before that, let me tell you that this jutsu basically sealed two Hokage, who were close to their original powers, along with the two arms of the legendary Sannin, Orochimaru. And the only reason he failed to seal Orochimaru completely is lack of strength. Yep, he just didn't have enough strength to completely remove his soul. But don't worry, because the next jutsu doesn't require any physical effort and also doesn't need you to sacrifice your life. At number 4, we have Edo Tensei. With Edo Tensei, you can revive a dead human being, and all you have to do is sacrifice another person. There are 3 requirements to perform this technique. First, the user has to get some of the DNA of the person they want to reincarnate. The second and most important one, the soul you want to reincarnate must be in the Pure Land, because souls that are trapped in the stomach of Shinigami we talked about earlier cannot be reincarnated as long as they live there. The third condition, as mentioned before, is to capture a living person. Now, after fulfilling those conditions, the user puts the DNA of the person they want to reincarnate on a special scroll, which then creates a special seal. After that, the sacrifice gets covered with dust, which causes them a lot of pain. But no one cares about sacrifices, so let's move on. Eventually, the chakra of the sacrifice gets completely overwritten with the chakra of the reincarnated person. After this point, nothing can save the sacrifice. You can even cancel the technique, but they will never get their body back. In return, the reincarnation gets an immortal body. Any damage they receive will regenerate over time. The only way to counter this is with the truth-seeking balls. These balls not only negate the regeneration, but can also kill the reincarnated body if they hit a vital point. What's crazy is that this jutsu continuously recovers your chakra. Just like their body, their chakra reserves instantly get restored. This means they can perform as many jutsu as they want without worrying about chakra loss. So how do you counter this broken jutsu? Well, there are 3 ways. The first way to do this is by removing the soul from the reincarnated body with dead demon consuming seal, like Hiruzen did with the first and second Hokage. The second way can be a little difficult because this one requires the summoner to undo the technique themselves. And because they aren't gonna easily do that, you'd have to put them under a genjutsu like Itachi did with Kabuto. The third way is less reliable but still very effective. The reason I say it's less reliable is it won't work on everyone since you have to affect the reincarnated soul in some emotional way. For example, Sai's brother Shin broke free of Edo Tensei after he looked at Sai's drawing, and while it is reliable, it's still a tool in a toolbox. With that, we are left with the 3 strongest S-rank jutsu in the Naruto verse. At number 3, we have Night Guy. The Night Guy is a taijutsu of the highest level that can only be performed after opening all 8 gates. And while it sounds simple, there's a small problem. You see, opening 8 gates is no simple task. In his fight against Gaara, Lee only opened 5 gates, and the drawback of doing that was so bad that he had to go through a surgery. A surgery which, if failed, could kill him. Night Guy himself was cooked after opening 7 gates. So much so that after he finished the technique, a simple touch made him scream for his life. So what happens when you open the 8th gate? Well, you die. This gate is literally known as the Gate of Death, and you are literally burning your life. But after opening that gate, you're invincible for a small amount of time. But in Guy's case, that time was enough for him to Rose Madara. He became stronger than the 5 Kage and almost killed the Sage of 6 Paths Madara, which is insane when you realize that the 5 Kage struggled with a normal Madara. The speed he got after opening this gate was so intense that my guy was literally bending space around him with his kick. If you don't understand how fast that is, let me spell it out for you in simple words. It is impossible to defend this attack. However, the recoil from that kick was also very huge. It completely fractured Guy's right leg. As for Guy's body, he was literally cooked. I mean, he was on the brink of death and was slowly turning into ash. If it wasn't for Naruto's Sage of 6 Paths chakra, we'd be seeing the last of Guy's youth. This is why, along with being one of the strongest jutsu in the series, it is also classified as a forbidden jutsu. Now, let's talk about a jutsu jutsu that causes mass destruction every time it's used. At number 2, we have Tail Beast Ball. It is the signature attack of Tail Beast, which the 8 Tails considers similar to vomiting. These balls are made from an 8:2 ratio of positive black chakra and negative white chakra. After that, all they have to do is fire it from their mouth. The best part about this is, as long as it's the 8:2 ratio, you can put as much chakra as you want. The 9-tail beast Kurama was able to create a Tail Beast Bomb many times bigger than itself with just a fraction of his power. Tail Beast Balls are extremely dense, so much so that even though they're suspended in air, they can instantly create a giant crater on the ground. As for the destruction, they can vaporize everything in the blast area. Now, the size of the destruction obviously depends on how much chakra it contains, but a normal sized beast ball can delete a whole mountain. And what's crazy is that despite being so heavy, the Tail Beast Balls can travel very fast. Actually, the Tail Beast Ball of the 10 Tails is very special in that regard. Not only does it have bonkers attack power, but the fact that it crossed several miles in a few seconds and destroyed the whole base of the allied forces in mere moments makes it worthy of being high up in the list. But what happens when you use that chakra to make a Rasen shuriken? Well, you don't have to wonder about it because Naruto already did that. At number 1, we have the Super Tail Beast Ball Rasen shuriken. This is the ultimate technique created by Naruto using the power of the Sage of Six Paths. This jutsu is so insane that Naruto's 4th databook declares it the most marvelous ninjutsu of all time. To use this technique, Naruto creates 8 shadow clones. After that, Naruto and his clones each form a Rasen shuriken that's filled with the unique chakra of a different tail beast. Naruto actually used this jutsu to find Kaguya's weakness. However, it worked like a charm. Even though it looked like Kaguya wasn't hurt by the attack, the tail beast chakra of the Rasen shuriken disturbed the tail beast chakra within Kaguya. Things went so bad for Kaguya that she wasn't able to maintain her human form and bloated like a balloon. That's it for the strongest S-rank jutsu in Naruto. Some of these jutsu were so dangerous that they were labeled as forbidden jutsu. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check out our video on every forbidden jutsu in Naruto.